somehow playing back in sync. He's the real deal, and he's here. And as you can see, I'm so inspired. I have my yellow tux. It's more of a yellow suit. I couldn't find a yellow tux. But so many questions. I can't wait to dig in, but let me just do a proper intro here real quick. In fact, it won't be a proper intro, because if I did a proper intro, I'd use up all the time we have today. So I'm just going to skip along so everybody gets a sense of who you are. Jesse's the owner of the Savanah Bananas, author of 3 books, Fans First, Find Your Yellow Tux, and Banana Ball. Jesse's built a team centered on the fan experience, and he's so successful, he's literally sold out every game since the first season. He's been on ESPN. He has a series called Banana Land. He's been in the Wall Street Journal, Sports Illustrated. He literally resurrected the Grayson Stadium at a time when people were wondering what was happening with the place. Changed the rules of the game literally to fit what a fan needs to be intrigued and excited about baseball. Made it more entertaining. We'll get through maybe how that is. There's so many little fun stories there. He's been Entrepreneur of the Year, Business Person of the Year, been on every TV network. I can go on and on and on. And Jesse, that's why I'm just so excited to see you here. I was like a super fan of your TikTok videos way back when nobody knew what they were looking at. And this whole thing is just blown up, which is why I'm just so happy to see you. I remember talking to a few people and they said, you're never going to get Jesse Cole on the Morning Toast podcast. And, the more I know about you and your background, I'm like, he absolutely will do this podcast. If he gets the information about what we're about, I know he'll do it. And you did. So thank you. And enough about me.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be with you. And I appreciate the all-in effort on getting that yellow tux and hat. I really like it.
Well, if you saw what I had to work on to get in these pants, I'm not going to go into that. But tell me, it was an effort.
Outstanding. We're looking strong.
Jesse, I've listened to so many bits of content out there about the bananas, and I want to talk through a lot of that. But I'm interested in the startup and when you got going and when you had this vision that was so clear to you. It was you and your wife as well, I understand. And you guys had sort of dreamt up what the Savanah Bananas could be when nobody else had an idea about what that vision was, and you stuck with it. But it wasn't just automatic, and it wasn't success like day one. In reading your book, you referenced the opening of Disneyland and the Black Sunday and that launch, and how if people focused on that experience, they would have thought it was just a big epic fail. But that's part of the journey, isn't it? Like, launching isn't always just smooth and everything's perfect. You literally have to endure a lot of things, including maybe a failed day one in some cases. What was your day one like?
Well, people don't realize my real day one was when I was a 23-year-old general manager of a small little team in Gastonia. Before there was Savanah, there was 10 years of experiments, iteration, failures, learnings. And so, my day one back in Gastonia as a 23-year-old GM is that we didn't prepare enough food. So the lines were about 2 or 3 hours to get food. Crazily, we didn't learn, I guess, everything we needed to, because 10 years later, when we opened up the bananas with all-inclusive food, literally for everybody, every single ticket had all your burgers, hot dogs, chicken sandwiches, soda, water, popcorn, dessert for one ticket price. We had 3 hours of wait again because we went through 10,000 pieces of meat. But, but the reality is the startup it's you have to have a vision. But what I realized, it's just a series of iterations. You see something, you adjust. You see something, you adjust. So when I was 23 years old, I was running a small team in Gastonia, North Carolina, and everyone told me baseball was too long, too slow, too boring. I couldn't sell tickets. We were at this old little high school, Legion Park, couldn't sell tickets. And that's when we started trying, the grandma beauty pageants and the pregnant nights and the salute to underwear nights and dig to China nights and just everything, having dancing players. That led us to where we were in Savanah, but we were still unproven when we started. We came in Savanah, no one knew who we are. So we only sold a handful of tickets in our first few months. And by January of 2016, we'd overdrafted our account. We were completely out of money. My wife and I had to sell our house, empty out our savings account. We were sleeping on an airbed, grocery shopping with just $30 a week for food. That's all we had. And we knew we had to kind of go all in. And that's the P.T. Barnum, Walt Disney influence. And, No one really knows anything until they actually experience it. So they have to experience it. You can talk and talk and talk and talk, but they have to experience it. So we had to get to that first game where we could put on a show that people had never seen before. And once we were able to do that, things started to change a little better for the future for us.
I think about that moment too, how much perseverance you need, because at a time when you needed probably, cash flow more than anything, you were making decisions that in the very moment were anti-cash flow short term, but were going to benefit you long term that you knew would. You were so intent on the fact that instead of developing technology to help people deal with lines and queues and the experience of people going and getting concessions, you're like, make the line move fast. Don't charge the sales tax as part of the cash flow exchange. You pay that yourself, so the fan doesn't have to fuss with it and make change. And so while everybody else is worrying about how to, let's incentivize the fan to eat when they're not hungry, so that we don't have a line. When you're like, no, come on up, get a burger, get a drink, just bring correct change, make it fast, and get back and watch the game. It's fascinating to me. Like every time I turn around, there's some rule that you broke or some box that everybody else is living in that you just like threw out and started over. It's so cool.
Well, think about this. Most people, when they get into business, and whether it's sales, marketing, what they're driven to is sell more, bring in more revenue, drive more sales, all of that. That's how a business works. The more sales you bring in, the higher the promotions, the more you make, everything like that. For me, that wasn't it, because I learned what living on an airbed with my wife and having nothing. And that time, surprisingly, I was unbelievably happy, because we were on a journey to do something that was unique and different and memorable. I wasn't trying to drive sales. The revenue never gets exciting for me. So I think if you have that long mindset, I learned this from Disney. He just put himself in his fans' shoes, his guests' shoes. And so literally he would walk the park. So what I do and every day is like, I'm only want to create something that I would love, that I'm a fan of. And if you do that over and over again, you realize that the people in your business, everyone, the players, the cast, everyone on our team, we're only doing things that we would love, that we would be a fan of. And we're not a fan of paying extra fees, service fees, convenience fees, taxes, all those extra. We pay taxes, but I'm talking about when you buy a burger and all of a sudden it's, $7.25 as opposed to $6 and all those extra things. We don't like that. So we just eliminated it. And have we left millions of dollars on the table? You better believe it. But we're hopefully creating millions of fans, and that's a lot more fun for us than creating some more revenue for the team.
Well, and you left millions of dollars on that table, but the interesting thing is you have 20 tables deep now of other success. Let's talk about that for a second. You have a waiting list of people that want to work for the organization. I'm not just talking about ball players. I'm talking about staff. You have a waiting list to get into a game. You have a waiting list because there's only so many people you can have in this experience. And while I'm saying that, you've got a warehouse full of merchandise that people want to get their hands on because they can't be at the Savanah Banana Stadium. They're somewhere else in the world, and you're shipping a little bit of them, a little bit of you to them. Talk about that for a minute. Where are we today versus where you were when you were starting, wondering about, that concession line?
Well, our first shipment of T-shirts that came in had too many N's in bananas. We literally misspelled our own name. So those shirts didn't go over that well. We were printing on Excel sheets. We were packing up cars and delivering to the post office. We really we weren't even printing labels at our place. We had to learn it ourselves. And one of my biggest mentalities I tell everyone here in our team is you got to get through the messy to get to the great. Sometimes people will just talk about ideas, but they don't actually do them. And then what you do is when you learn. So it was extremely messy at first. We were in a little storage building with our merchandise, printing out Excel sheets on all the orders. And then we got better each year. And we did free shipping on everything, not just one day a year, free shipping on everything. We eliminated all of our taxes. We had a free koozie, a free decal, a custom box. We started calling people and thanking them for their order, which unfortunately now has become unscalable, but we did that the first 6 years. And then now, yes, we're fortunate. We bought a 20,000 square foot warehouse. I walked in just yesterday morning and, to see 15 people on our team packing orders for our fans and people using a lift to grab huge boxes of merchandise and put it down. And I'm like, what has happened? And again, that's never been the goal. The goal has been to create something that we would be a fan of, to make baseball fun and be the most fans first organization in the world. And now to see hundreds of orders every day all over the world. Fortunately, the business is taking care of itself because our fans want to support us. They believe in us, not just what we do, but who we are and what we stand for. And I think that's important.
So cool. So I used to coach Little League, and I had 3 kids. I coached all 3 of them. Sadly, none of them went on to play professional ball. But despite the perfect coaching they got from their old man, but I remember there was always a moment of the season where we'd take the team down to Tiger Stadium here. I'm in Detroit, and I used to like coach the parents and say, well, be ready to leave and about inning 4 if they make it. We'd usually make it to about the 3rd inning, and then they'd all want to go. And it's because there was nothing exciting happening. There was this boring, sort of slow-moving, slow-paced game full of all kinds of rules that we had only because we had them the year before and the year before that and the year before that. When people were playing, against each other in a field somewhere before there was a such thing as television or, but you just immediately could look at that differently and say, well, here's the things that we want to change. Talk through what some of those changes are, because I got a feeling that all 3 of my kiddos would probably stay to the end of your game. And tell everybody why that is.
Well, at first, we had dancing players, we had a breakdancing coach, we had a male cheerleading team, a banana band, we had all these different things. And we made it very entertaining. We were obsessed with making it entertaining. But we noticed fans kept leaving games early. Didn't matter. We could have the best promotions, the best entertainment. They were still leaving games early. And so what I do is, I don't do surveys. I don't believe in surveys, especially with our fans. What I do is I like watching how our fans react. When you put something out there, how do they react? What do they do? It's not, would you do this? It's biased. So I just started watching fans leaving. I said, if they're leaving early, when are they leaving? So we started taking pictures of our grandstand every 30 minutes and videos, watching when they get up, when they leave, and when they leave the stadium, keeping track of that. And we found a pretty good statistic that most, 10, 20, 30% were leaving after 9 o'clock. By 9:30, you might have 60% left in the stadium. By 10 o'clock, it could be 50%. So if that's the case on a 3-hour game, what can we do to change it? And then what are the boring parts of the games? Walks. Stepping out of the box. I looked at all that. And so the starting point of all innovation, what I believe is look at all the friction points in your experience and do the exact opposite. So we said
literally do the opposite.
If we could create a game with, what would it look like if we had a 2-hour time game? What if there could never be blowouts and every game was close because we made every inning count and worth 1 point? What if batters could
how many runs?
What's that?
1 point, no matter what. So you're always like close. That's awesome.
Yeah, team can score 6 runs and then they shut out the team the next inning and they only get 1 point. So you're only down 1-0. So it keeps it in you. Batters can steal first. That makes it exciting. There's no walks. Literally, a walk is now a sprint, which is another crazy rule. And then fans can catch a foul ball for an out. So we tested this. People don't realize now it's become mainstream as we've developed over 7-8 million followers. But when we first started it, we did a test behind closed doors at a college in 2018. We said, guys, we're trying to develop a faster game that's more exciting. And we played 9 innings with this college in 99 minutes. And the feedback that I saw right afterwards, the guys were having more fun playing. And afterwards, they said that was the most fun they ever had playing baseball.
Wow.
I said, we're on something. So then we tested with our team. Then we did a 1-city world tour. That's how we tested our touring of this. Then we tested 7 cities. And then we realized that, hey, we got to go all in on this. Now we're doing coast to coast, 33 cities, and everything is a test. So yes, 98 to 99% of our fans stay till the last pitch. We've played 20 games now. We've played 9 innings complete in 2 hours every single game. And it's a fun to watch. It goes by very fast and keeps us all engaged. Even myself, who've seen hundreds of games. Can you create something that you're still engaged and not just someone come for one time?
You said earlier that was important, that you needed to be engaged and you needed to be entertained, and this has to be fun for you. And I want to ask you this question. So you said it's imperative that you have fun, that the team has fun, and then the fans will have fun. But I think that order is super important, right? I mean, you literally have to start yourself to see that vision and understand that you're creating something that you enjoy, or the team is not going to get the buy-in. And the team themselves, you have a number of players that were that sort of had to grow into themselves. I was reading something even today that you posted about, one of those early players that came in and they were performance based, and it took a while to sort of get into the groove. And now they're enjoying themselves, having a blast. And, you almost have to unwrite everything you've learned or unlearn everything that you've learned up until now, and just relax, enjoy yourself, and things happen.
I think, 100%. I think fun is contagious for us. It's very contagious. And so we think about, from a CEO, a president, and owner, what energy are you bringing every day? If you don't love your product, if you don't love what you're selling, if you don't believe in it more than anyone else, good luck having the rest of your team, your whole staff, believe in it just as much. And so that's the challenge. So if I start getting bored with something, they're going to feel it. Staff's going to see it. Jesse's not liking this as much. And then they're going to act that same way. I have to work to create new things that are really exciting for me, this brand, the team, and it goes down from there. And then all of a sudden, same thing when the guys come up with their own hitting entrance or scoring celebration, and you see them perform, and the crowd loves it, and social media loves it. They want to do more of that. It's contagious when you do things that are different, unique, and memorable.
How difficult is it to keep things fresh? I mean, I got to imagine the first few weeks, it's like there's all the stuff you can think about doing. And after a while, my goodness, the next idea, where's it coming from? While you've got every other team in the league practicing, you guys aren't practicing. You're rehearsing for something you've dreamed up or thought about and tried out. Tell me what that's like. How's that different?
It's fascinating. I read the quote that Walt Disney's greatest creation wasn't necessarily Mickey Mouse. It wasn't Snow White. It wasn't Disneyland. It was the Walt Disney Company. And when you think about that, why? Because it built a creative DNA, a culture of innovation and ideas. So that's the thing that I think about every day is right in front. This is my idea book for this year, 2023 ideas. I do 10 ideas every single morning. I've done it since 2018. If you do the math, that's, I don't know, 15, 20,000 really bad ideas. But there's some good ones in there. And so if you want to have good ideas, you got to work your idea muscle. But as far as keeping it fresh, it's a challenge. It is a challenge because once we've reached this, whoa, they did this, they did this, they did this. What's next? The key is it can't just be me and some of our creative team. That has to be the players, has to be the rest of the staff. Right. You have to keep bringing in new people with new backgrounds, new diversity, new outlook on what can they bring in new talent. You know, no one ever thought of a guy on stilts playing baseball, but he showed up to the tryout and he just played regular. He didn't have his stilts, or at least that I know of, until tryout was over. And he goes, "Hey, I have my stilts. Do you want me to walk on them?" I go, "No, but can you hit on them?" He goes, "I've never done that before." And I go, "Well, let's see." So he goes in the batting cage and he starts hitting balls on stilts.
Now all of a sudden.
Yeah, 100%. And he did it, and he's become a star. And now the ideas and the things we can do with stilts. He's now pitches. We got a giant glove for him to play first. All those opportunities. You need to bring in new people that you never thought would mix. Like, hey, a guy in stilts in baseball, that doesn't make sense. And then that gives it basically unlocks a whole new barrier of ideas.
Right. I just love that, you know, everyone involved, right down to the umpire, are having fun, having a great time, part of the whole experience. 2 weeks ago, I was in Florida on vacation, and I was sitting in line at a Starbucks, and three guys walked in, and they had Savanah Banana T-shirts on, and I'm seeing this all over the place now. You've just blown up out there in the world, which is amazing. And I asked a question, you know, hey, do you guys follow the Savanah Bananas? Oh yeah, we're from Georgia. You know, we talk back and forth. And one of the guys made a comment, and I thought, I'm going to have to ask Jesse this, see if this is offensive to you or not. But he said, you know, they're kind of he was explaining to somebody else who was asking about you.
I know where you're going with this.
You know where I'm going. They're kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. And I thought, no, they're not. They're not the Harlem Globetrotters, because Harlem Globetrotters could not drop in to a professional game and win. Not that I can think of. That was my thought. But tell me how far off I am and give me your answer to that.
Yeah, I address this in the new book, Banana Ball, because I hear that a lot. And the reality is, I've done so much research on the Harlem Globetrotters, WWE, SNL, Cirque du Soleil, anybody in the entertainment and / sports world. I've studied them.
Right.
The Globetrotters fundamentally changed the game of basketball in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. They beat the Minneapolis Lakers twice. They literally had, with George Mikan, they had Wilt Chamberlain play for the Globetrotters. They sold out Madison Square Garden twice in the same day. The NBA would book them so that they could get people to stay for the NBA games. They played in front of 75,000 people in Berlin. They were the biggest sports team in the world.
Wow.
So I take it as respect and admiration. Yeah. However, there are some huge differences between us and the Globetrotters.
Yeah.
My biggest fear is becoming the Harlem Globetrotters. And that's, why would you say that? Well, the Globetrotters win every game. They play the Generals. They have a similar show. Here comes the confetti. Here comes this. I love what the Globetrotters did in the beginning. They played real basketball plus the entertainment. Like I said, they beat the Lakers. They beat the college all-stars. They were unbelievable. And then they realized that they could control the show, which is something that Walt Disney, everyone talks about. And they made it every day, and they were unbelievably successful. but then it's become the same show.
Same
And
show
I don't know
every time.
exactly. So for us, yeah. So we do 10 to 15 things every night. We've never done in front of a live crowd.
Wow.
Every single night. And the Bananas have actually lost more games than they've won this year on tour.
Yeah.
So I can't control that. And
Yeah.
then we have a much bigger picture. There's a lot more interest in creating something, and that's not just a one-off. I think Banana Ball game is the real deal, and so we're going to look at ways to bring more teams into the fold and keep the entertainment, but also keep the competitiveness and fun. So that's how it will be different in the future.
So tell me something. I apologize for skipping around so much. There's so many things I wanted to ask you. I know we don't have a ton of time. We have about maybe 10 more minutes. But I wanted to ask you how you were inspired to do this. I know that early on you were on the trajectory of becoming a professional ball player, and you had an injury. Or that was probably the thought, right? Did that change? Maybe you wanted to find a way to stay in the game. You knew baseball was going to be in your life. How in the world did you come up with the idea of what this whole experiential program is? Where'd you get that inspiration?
Well, I think everybody, no matter what they do, they want to do something that they love. And so for me, my dream was, yes, being a professional baseball player. Injury derailed that pretty quickly. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I got offered the opportunity to coach, and I wouldn't have that much control. I'd be like a volunteer assistant. I would do laundry, and, it was a very small job that I didn't feel like I could have an impact. And I didn't know I wanted to work the front office. This wasn't a dream of mine. But as soon as I got offered the job as a general manager at 23, and the owner said, hey, the team only had $268 in the bank account my first day. There were 200 fans coming to the games. It gave me the opportunity to try things. And I started realizing, wow, I can make a huge impact. And so that's when I read everything from Walt Disney and P.T. Barnum and Bill Veeck. And I started saying, wow, you could dramatically think about sports in a different way, that it's not just about who wins and loses the baseball game. Everyone else hits home runs, there's strikeouts. We've all seen that. But what if they saw things in a ball game they've never seen before, experienced things they've never experienced before? What if you broke down the barriers between the players and the fans? I started asking all these questions that I think Walt Disney did when he reimagined what a theme park could be. And when he reimagined that, he created something that no one knew they needed or they wanted. But once they experienced it, they felt the difference. And that's what I wanted people to start feeling. And so it's taken 15 years to get on that trajectory. And we're still in the first inning. We're not even close on where we can be, but that's where we're going.
I think for a lot of ways, for me anyway, Walt Disney just did this fabulous thing with everything he had going on. But I don't know that every staff member felt like there's a little bit of Walt in him. I get that impression with you, though, that it seems like the lowest person on the totem pole can be an equal contributor, like any given day. Talk about that for a moment. I mean, all these ideas you have, you said every day you've got a whole slew of them, but they don't all come from you, do they? The team itself, everybody in the organization, they're all contributing.
100%. I mean, you got to start with the vision. When it's a very simple bit, I am almost like a broken record. The name of our company is Fans First Entertainment. Every decision we ask ourselves, is it fans first? When you have a clear vision, we want to be the most fans first organization and just make baseball fun. When you have that clear, then it's everyone looks, all right, well, is this fans first? Is this fun? Do we love this? And you can ask those questions. So then it drives more decisions and more ideas. And, we still have a long ways to go. We're in rapid growth right now. We're having more people work on our team than ever before. And I think we still need to work harder on getting that culture. But it starts with who you are, what you stand for. And then next is stories. Every company has core beliefs, integrity, innovation, whatever that may be. But you have stories that back those up. And so I constantly share stories. As a leader, your job is to be kind of the person not only shares the vision, but shares stories of who you are and what you stand for that back up that vision. And if you do that over and over again, and you're that storyteller, then those stories get into your organization's the DNA that everyone continue to share them. And then the question that we ask our team before every trip where we go on, what are the fans first moments you're going to create tonight? And then by the end of the weekend, we share a new fans first moment and a new fans first moment. So the stories keep compounding, and we're all challenged, not on how many tickets we sell, not on how many merch we sell, on how many fans first moments that we create that make a real difference. That to us is how you get the whole organization bought in. It's that repetition over and over again of the vision and celebrating the people that actually make that vision come true.
Right. It's interesting when I hear you say that. So I know that you do a lot of speaking with businesses and events and so forth. And everybody's trying to figure out what the magic pieces they're missing. oftentimes not realizing that the magic component they're missing isn't missing. It's in their own organization. They have to create like a fertile environment for that to happen, that not all the best ideas always come from the same person. And that is just so cool for me to hear from your group. I wonder sometimes what it must be like. I think about how many ideas were left on the cutting room floor. What was the debate like when you decided to light the bat on fire? What kind of things were you worried about with the guy on the stilts? And I could just go on and on and on and on. Were there some programs you almost pulled forward, but you decided you can't just because it's just too risky? Can you share any of those?
Yeah, I mean, I think actually in Banana Land, one of the episodes it shared, the team had this whole plan that we were going to have a police officer arrest a guy caught stealing in the middle of the game. So literally when the party animal got caught stealing, we would run out a cop, put him in handcuffs, and take him off the field. Funny bit. But as I kept going through to my head, I go, this is going to seem staged. Yeah. And anything that seems staged goes against our authenticity of who we are. So something as crazy as that, which would have been fun. I mean, everyone comes to me with streaker ideas. They want to do this. We have that balance. I mean, we had a hitter come up and do the risky business with Tom Cruise with just the dress shirt and the underwear the other day. That's probably as close as we get to that. So we get on the line. But yeah, I mean, they didn't even tell me about the bat on fire. Because they were actually worried that I would say no. Actually, I would say yes. How do we make the fire even stand out even more? Certain things that I am more supportive, but anything involved, like they like to do kind of skits with like shooting stuff. I don't love that because I have 2 4-year-olds and I don't want anything. So there's certain things that goes against our family friendly that I will push against. But most of it's like, hey, if the guys think it's fun, our staff thinks it's fun, and if they think about overall, will our fans think this is fun? Let's try it. Most people don't know the 9 to 10 things that don't work every day. I mean, the living piñata, I mean, that was a disaster. All right. The messy baby, the horse head race. We've done so many of those, but overall it's just continue to try, continue to learn, and continue to have fun. Well, way early on, Jesse, and I'll wrap this up here. Way early on, I thought, wow, this guy is going to change baseball. But it's so far beyond that now. You have influenced so many people like myself in business who are navigating some of the most unprecedented times we've ever had right now. And again, realizing that what we need to do to fix whatever it is we're trying to fix is sometimes just right behind us or right in front of us, wherever. It's within arm's reach of our business itself. And I really appreciate that from you. Last thing, and then we'll wrap up. What's next for the Savanah Bananas? What's the next big thing I'm going to read about? Oh, I don't know what you're going to read about because we're doing new things every day. So I don't know what'll come out next. But, we're challenging the convention of, hey, we're just an exhibition team. So, we're going to push the boundaries on major league stadiums, potentially cruise ships, international games, playing places people never thought before. And yeah, I mean, I would be shocked if there wasn't maybe the most fans first, fun and entertaining league in sports created over the next 3 years. Well, Jesse Cole, just know that you've inspired a whole bunch of people here in little old Wixom, Michigan at PTG, and we appreciate you, my friend, and thank you for coming on. And I know this is probably the most impactful podcast you've been on, so you'll never forget us, I'm sure, but I do appreciate it. It's the first one. It's the first one with someone wearing a full yellow suit, top hat, that have gone all in. So I certainly will not forget this one, my friend. Well, you said find your yellow tux, and that's a little easier said than done as when you're as portly as I am. But as I said earlier, but either way, I do appreciate it. Jesse, you take care of yourself. And thanks again for joining the podcast. Thanks so much. Take care. All right. Okay. Are you still there? Yeah, I'm here. We're done. I really appreciate that. I thought that went well for what we do. That was fantastic. I really appreciate everything. We do either we send you money, we have got a box of booze that we have as well. We do that, or we do a gift to charity in your honor, to charity of your choice. And pick one. I don't need anything. It was an honor being with you, believe me. But I really, we are good. We enjoyed it. You went all out. It was a great podcast. And I'm not trying to not take something. I just appreciate you for the great questions, the great conversation. You bet. And your team that looks after things, top notch, fantastic. And just want to make sure they get that accolade back. So thank you very much, Jessica Cole. Take care. All right.